At the end of every year, or even at the beginning of a new year, it's really important to stop and take like a full day, maybe even longer, and think about, what are my goals? What am I working towards? I don't know if you're like me, but I am really good at getting stuff done and checking things off my to-do list. But sometimes I find myself just checking things off my list because they're on my list, but not really thinking about, is this task moving my business forward? What is my goal, and does this task help me meet that goal? I did that for a long time, and I was doing all of these things just because either someone had told me I should be doing it, or I just started doing it, so then I continued to do it. But I didn't stop and think, okay, what are the main things that I need to be doing to get to the goal that I want to reach? And what things can I stop doing because they're not really moving me towards my goal? And if you are a busy mom or a busy parent, you know that time is limited. So it's so important to make sure that the things you do for your business on a daily, weekly basis are all purposeful. They're intentional. So in this episode, I'm going to tell you kind of how I planned my 2024 and what we're doing in my business. And then I will give you some tips for planning your 2024. And it's going to really depend on where you are in your business. So I will kind of go over, if you are a beginner or maybe you already have a course, what are some things that you need to be looking at? So for me, my 2024 is going to be a little bit different because in Q1, quarter one, I will be on maternity leave. In fact, I should be on maternity leave right now as you're listening to this episode. I am pre-recording it. So that really affected how we plan things with my business. But what we did was, I have a team member, Emily, and she kind of runs the operations behind the business. And I should have been doing this even before I had a team member. So if you're like, I don't have a team, it's okay. This will still work. But what we did first was we mapped out, okay, what are our main goals for 2024? What are we working towards? And the main things that we were working towards were having some successful launches of my 2 courses for my 2 businesses, and really focusing on organic marketing. That's kind of like the theme of the year. So we kind of thought about the whole year, and we planned when the launches were going to be and how, big picture, we were going to focus on organic marketing and getting more leads organically, which just means for free, versus using all paid ads, which is kind of what I did in 2023. So we started with that. We made a calendar of the launches that we wanted to have. And just so you know, if you're like, well, I want to know what launches you're going to have, we planned 2 launches of each of my courses. So if you don't know, I have 2 distinct businesses right now. I may merge them eventually, but right now they are distinct. I have Lindsay Bowden, which is for teachers. That's lindsaybowden.com. My Instagram is Lindsay Bowden. And with that business, that was the first business I started. That's how all of this began, where I train teachers how to create resources and then sell them online. So I have that course. It's called the Resource Academy. And then I also have a program for this business, Meet the Bowdens, where I teach families, moms, how to create their own course in whatever niche they want to create their course in. It doesn't have to be for teachers. So I have that program, which is called Hey Online Course. So I have these 2 very distinct major programs, and I started there, and we planned the launches for those. So for 2024, we planned to have a launch of Hey Online Course in the spring in April. Usually I would probably have one in Q1, but like I said, I'm going to be on maternity leave. So I really wanted to protect that time. So in April, we'll have that. And then we'll have another launch of that course in the fall around October. And then for my teacher course, we're going to have a big summer launch because teachers are off during the summer. So it's important when you're thinking about when you want to launch, it's important to think about what would work best for your audience. And for those of you that don't even have a course to launch yet, that's okay. I will get to you, I promise. But this is just if you already have an established course like I do. So a big summer launch, and then we will have what I like to call a replay launch in November, which is basically where we do the exact same launch, just in a different time of the year. and it just saves us a lot of work because everything's already done. We just have to kind of reschedule it, change the dates, etc. So we started with that. We started with when do we want the big launches? And we made sure to tell everyone on my team, which I have a very small team. It's 2 people, and then we have a part-time virtual assistant. So it's not like we're telling a ton of people, but just so that everyone knows, like, yes, these are when the launches are. Make sure everyone's going to be in town, that kind of thing. And then we adjust if people are, going to be on vacation that week, then we'll just change it, which is great. And that's why planning ahead is so important. And I will say, I did not used to do this, especially when I was just by myself. I would plan a launch like the month before. I'd be like, oh yeah, I want to launch next month. And it was just chaos because I was flying by the seat of my pants, basically, and I didn't have a clear plan. So this is so much more helpful to plan the whole year of launches. And of course, things might change, but it's a good starting spot. So then what we did was we thought about, okay, so we want this organic marketing. We want to really focus on that. How can we accomplish that? So that's actually one of the reasons we started this podcast, because this is organic. It's free. We don't pay anything really for the podcast other than to host it, which I think is $5 a month. That's it. So podcasting is a really inexpensive way to market. Maybe I should do an episode on how to start a podcast because it's actually pretty easy. So we thought about that, and then we thought about how can we repurpose the content from the podcast to reach more people. So we are taking one podcast episode, and I always record them so we can actually put them on YouTube as well. So it's a podcast episode and a YouTube video all in one. We also can take that same podcast and make a blog post out of it using AI, ChatGPT. Of course, editing it, you don't want to just throw something that ChatGPT gave you up on a blog post, but it's a good starting spot. So you can kind of see a theme here, really trying to systematize and repurpose and work less while still reaching more people, work in the smartest way possible, the most efficient way possible with this organic marketing strategy. So we can make a blog post out of it. We can also take snippets from the podcast or the YouTube video and make reels or YouTube shorts. Lots of things that we can do just from this one main source of organic marketing. Now, I'm still going to run Facebook ads. I love Facebook ads. I think they're a great way to expedite the process of growing your email list. So I will still do that, but I think adding this organic piece in is, first of all, going to save me money, and it'll just reach more people. It's just a way to reach more people in 2024. And then, of course, it's always on my goal list to grow my email list, and this podcast and all of the ways we're repurposing it will help us reach that goal through this organic marketing strategy. We also really thought about data and what is working and what is not. So for example, I had been doing Pinterest for a long, long time. I think Pinterest is great, but I noticed that I wasn't getting a ton of traffic from Pinterest for my online course business. And I was paying someone to do it, but they weren't a specific Pinterest expert. They were just a virtual assistant that could do a lot of different things. And she was fabulous. It wasn't her. It was just, I didn't know exactly how to use Pinterest correctly. She wasn't an expert at Pinterest. And so it just made sense for right now to stop doing Pinterest until I can either hire an expert to do it, or I have the time to sit down and learn it, and then I can teach someone else. So that's something that we may look into for 2024. But because the data showed me that it wasn't really getting me a ton of leads, it was getting me clicks, but not leads. And I want leads. That's what's going to convert into sales. Then I thought, why should I pay someone $35 an hour to do this when I'm not seeing the ROI? So I stopped that. So really keeping track of your data is so important to make decisions moving forward. Some other things that we really worked on in 2023 to set up 2024 in a really good way, I guess is the best way I can describe it, is we systematized everything in my business, meaning everything that I was doing, whether it was writing an Instagram caption, writing a blog post, customer service emails, tracking data, anything that I was doing, managing my Facebook community. I would record myself doing it, and then I would have someone on my team write out the steps, and that's called a standard operating procedure or an SOP. And we did that for everything. Now, this took a long time because I didn't do this from the beginning. And so I had a lot of SOPs to create. But by doing that, even for launches, there are so many things that go into live launches that I didn't even realize that I was doing. And to me, it's like, oh, this is going to take me 5 minutes. I'll just do it really quickly. But when those 5 minutes add up and it's like, this takes 5 minutes and this takes 5 minutes, I was spending so much time doing things that other people could easily do instead of focusing on the things that I could only do, which is this kind of stuff, planning big picture, looking at data and making decisions as a CEO. So that's one big focus we had in 2023, especially as I was gearing up to go into maternity leave, was record myself doing everything, make SOPs for everything. And then Emily on my team really helped me figure out, okay, who on the team can do this? How do we take this off your plate? And how can we restructure the business so that you are only doing the things that only you can do and making those big picture decisions? And it really freed me up to stop just working to get things done and make more intentional decisions. So that was amazing. So even if you don't have a team right now, that is something that I highly suggest you start doing ASAP in 2024. Anything that you do on a regular basis, video yourself doing it. And by video yourself, I mean, I just use Loom, but you can use like Screencastify. There's lots of screen recording tools. And as you are doing the thing, talk through what you're doing, and just save all those in a Google Drive folder and label it with what is happening. You don't even have to type it out in the beginning. You can have a VA do that eventually. Or someone can just watch the video. They don't necessarily need the written steps, but I just like to have both. And that way, when you do decide to bring on a team member, you have all of these SOPs. And if you say, okay, I need you to check the customer service email, and here are the SOPs for how to do that, how to give a refund. What if someone wants to cancel their payments? How does someone change their credit card information? Just those things that you have to do all the time that someone else could easily do. You already have a good start on that. So that was so important. And if you haven't done that, don't feel bad, because I have been doing this business for 5 years now, and I just did that this year. So it's not too late to start, but it's also not too early to start. So start as soon as you can. That was probably the best thing that I did in 2023, to be honest, to prepare for 2024. Okay, so that is basically what I am doing, and that's kind of what we planned a big picture. Now, we also will sit down, Emily and I, every quarter and kind of say, okay, so what's the plan for this quarter? What do we need to get done? Let's make sure everything is in Asana, which is our project management tool. It's my favorite. You should definitely check it out. It's free. Let's make sure we have, everything assigned, etc. And let's look back at the quarter before and see if what we're doing is working. Look at the data, and then we can make decisions for the next quarter. But I always like to get that big picture view first. So that's what we did. So let's talk about what you should be doing to plan for your 2024. So I want to talk to the people in the very beginning stages of their business first. So let's say that you don't even have a niche or a course or an audience or anything yet. You're brand new. The first thing you need to do is give yourself a set date for choosing a niche and for starting an email list. Those are the things that you need to do first. Choose a niche and start building an audience via an email list. You can also start social media if you would like, but email list building is so much more important. I've had many episodes on that, so go back and listen to any episode about email list building. I have an episode about how to choose your course niche as well. And it can be a membership or a course, it doesn't really matter, but figure out what you want to teach about and figure out how to start an email list. That's important. And give yourself a date. I would say that shouldn't take you more than a month. So if you can knock that out in January, knock that out. And then you can start planning the rest of the steps. Now, I highly suggest getting some type of mentor or coaching. I would love to help you. That's like my bread and butter, is helping people in the beginning. We have a free training that really walks you through the beginning steps. It's called 0 to 5K course launch. It's a free 40-ish minute training. You can check that out by going to meetthebowdens.com/training. So you can definitely look into that. But there are things that you can also do if you're not ready to commit to coaching or a program yet, such as maybe outlining your course, maybe listening to podcasts like this one, watching YouTube videos to kind of get your feet wet. But I would say in Q1, you want to pick your niche, start your email list, outline your course, think about getting some training. Now, if you already have an established course, maybe you have created it, but you haven't launched it, plan that first launch. Commit to having a launch in Q1. Q1 is a great time to have a launch. It's the new year. People are excited about, having a transformation in their life. So I love having early in the year launches. So plan one. Your first launch doesn't have to be crazy big. And I love challenges. That's what I do for my launches, but you can do other things like a training series or even a webinar. So plan that first launch in Q1. And then if it works, you can just rinse and repeat like twice a year. Some people do it 4 times a year. If it doesn't work, then you want to look at the data and say, okay, this didn't work. Let me ask my email list why they didn't buy, take that data, and then try again in Q2, and then try again in Q3, because every launch is just data. There's no failures. It's just, let me see why this didn't work so I can adjust it and change it for the future. And also don't forget to think about what is your big overall goal for the year? So maybe if you're brand new, maybe your goal for next year is to get your course launched. I don't think it should take you all year to do that. I think you could do that in the first 3 to 6 months. But think about those big goals. And then is what you're doing on a day-to-day basis helping you get to that goal? So for example, if you are in the beginning stages, creating a website should not be on the top of your priority list. You do not have to have a website to launch a course. Now, having a website is a great bonus and it's great for people to find you. It's kind of like your home base, but you don't need that in the beginning. It's going to take you a lot of time to make a website, or you're going to have to pay someone, if they're good, a significant amount of money to create a website. And if you're not making money yet, that's not what you should be worried about. You should be worried about growing an audience and building your irresistible offer. If you already have a course, then your overall goal for the year should be to figure out how to sell it and sell it well. So have some launches, figure that out. Maybe you are even ahead of that, and maybe you already have had successful launches. Maybe your goal this year is to put your course on Evergreen, which I am about to open a program just for that, about how I do my Evergreen course launches, which is basically selling my course on autopilot, where that passive income piece comes in. Maybe that's your goal, is to figure out Evergreen and put your course on Evergreen this year. So get that overall goal, and then you can break it down into Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. But just ask yourself, everything that you're doing on a daily basis, is this getting me closer to my goal? Or is this just a random task that I'm just doing because someone told me to do it, or I started doing it and now I feel like I need to continue to do it? It's okay to stop doing things. It's a good thing usually to stop doing things so that you can focus on what really matters. Okay, so I hope this was helpful for starting your 2024 year off right. Again, if you're ready to jump into course creation and launching, I have a free training. You can head to meetthebowdens.com/training to check that out. And I hope you guys have a wonderful new year. I am so excited to see everything that you do in 2024.